I'm Josh.
Hi, Josh.
I've been an attorney for 20 years, and I'm trying to be a recovering attorney, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So my narrow area that I want to cover is the environmental plan, which is Exhibit R of the application. Now, Exhibit R, if I'm reading it correctly, it says that the environmental plan is optional. You can get 5 points for it. Every point counts. Seems like a relatively easy way to get 5 points, and it's also, I think, a good business decision as well. The application and the regulations are not very specific, unlike the security portion of our show is not very specific. So we have to get a little creative, I think. The one area, well, before I get into the specifics area, if you are going to put together an environmental plan, and I can recommend you do, don't just put the plan together for the application purposes for the 5 points. If you're going to put a plan together, put a plan that you expect to and are capable of adhering to. And that's important.
If you don't adhere to what you say you're going to adhere to, you're going to have a different problem.
Exactly.
So.
That's the point. It's better not to have the plan than to have a plan and not adhere to it. So let's get into what areas you need to think about for the plan. The one area where the exhibit in the application mentioned is recycling of the packaging that you're going to be using in your dispensary. So your plan should include a mechanism that allows you to keep up on what's legally required, what's environmentally required, because this is an area that's fluid, and you're going to have to keep up with the changing laws and changing ramifications. So one important part of your plan is to have a mechanism whereby you can stay aware on a monthly, yearly basis on what.
What would a mechanism be? Explain that to us.
That could be appointing someone who's one of their jobs, one of your 10 plus employees, one of their jobs is to check the Illinois and federal regulations for cannabis packaging recycling. There are websites that keep you up to date. My recommendation as part of your plan is to appoint at least one designated employee, that's his or her job to be in charge of implementing and enforcing the environmental plan. And one of the tasks for that person is to stay on top, and there are websites. I would also recommend checking out the recommendations and the regulations of other states that might be ahead of Illinois, like Colorado, to see what's coming. Of the materials that you're going to be using glass, you're going to be using plastics, you may be using batteries, you may be using metal. Not all of them, as you correctly point out, not all of the materials are recyclable. So part of your plan and part of the persons that we're identifying as being in charge, we'll appoint someone as vice president of recycling. We'll give them a fancy title, make them feel good about themselves. Vice president of the Eastern Seaboard of recycling for the Acme Cannabis dispensing company. So that person's job, and this should be part of the plan, but also part of their job description, is to identify and again stay on top of what is recyclable, which products are recyclable. And this also goes to staying on top of the regulations and the lay of the land in Illinois and other states, because there will be very specific as to what's recyclable and what's not. In addition to that, to get even a little bit more granular, Some items are recyclable, like glass, like paper, and some items like batteries are only recyclable, in very narrow ways. You can't just toss it in the battery recycling bin in the back of your shop. You have to go to specific battery recycling providers. So the best I can tell you is for the plan, identify what you're going to be using that is recyclable today. Put that in the plan, but also as part of your due diligence of staying on top of the changing landscape is making that a fluid list, because what's recyclable as the technology changes, you're going to expand and contract that list.
So the dispensary owners are beholden to those that they buy wholesale products from. Dispensary owners are not allowed to open or repackage or touch anything, just to make sure everybody realizes that the dispensary owner itself is not going to be making recyclable packaging. So I'm not really sure how we are, hopefully those that are selling wholesale cannabis products are considering all of these things, because we are at their mercy, so to speak. You can't change the packaging yourself.
And thank you for saying that, and that actually leads to a related topic, and that is to stay in touch with and pick the brains of your vendors, because most likely they're going to have been in the business a lot longer than you have, and they are a really good resource as to what's recyclable and how to go about recycling it. And so stay in touch with your vendors. They should be knowledgeable and helpful. I would absolutely develop good relationships with them and use them as a resource. Yes, sir.
For the dispensary, can we just do a paper shredder program? Is that considered environmental?
Yes.
Yes?
Well, I'm going to say yes, because the application and the regulations don't, other than packaging recycling, it just says environmental and energy saving in general. So yes, shredding and recycling paper, I would say absolutely put into the plan. In fact, after I finish talking about the packaging portion, I do have some general business recommendations for recycling and energy saving that you can put into your plan. It absolutely cannot hurt, and chances are it can help. So there's no downside to putting stuff like that in there, even though the application doesn't specifically request it. The whole portion of the application dealing with the environmental plan is optional, and if you are going to have it, you can put in what you want. So there's no requirement to have anything specific in the plan. So another aspect, and I think a really important aspect of the plan, if you choose to have one, is to have as part of your plan being handling your customers' recycling. Give them the opportunity to return unused packaging to you, to either to reuse yourself or to recycle. I think that's a really good, obviously good for the environment, and also a really good marketing aspect of your business. And I think that would also look really good on the application. That not only are you incorporating an environmental plan for your shop, but you're also helping the consumer and your customers to engage in recycling as well. All right. Well, this is common sense, and this is something you only have 5 pages. If you're going to have an environmental plan, you only have 5 pages to limit. So I'm just going to throw out.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. So I'm just going to throw out some common sense things that would be economically feasible to do. Again, good for marketing, and will look good on an application to show them that you're environmentally and energy savings conscious. I'll go through these quickly because a couple other gentlemen have presentations within this bracket. So to use compact fluorescent lights instead of incandescent lights, use dimmers and motion sensors. Motion sensors is you walk into a dark room and you go like this, like you're God Almighty, and lights go on. Those actually do save a lot of money. Using Energy Star products like dishwashers or clothes washers, drying machines have Energy Star designation. So do for your offices. So do computers, fax machines, scanners, things like that. And I'm going to skip down to the bottom because this is, I think, important and easy to do. Is install meters to track your energy use. Have that as part of your plan. Because even if you're renting space and you don't pay utilities directly to bills directly to the utility company, you still control how much energy is being used. And it's be really helpful to have as part of your plan to either install a meter or to incorporate a mechanism that gives you a way to find out the meter readings, so you can track just how successful your implementation plans are. And I work a lot in the Illinois renewable energy industry, and even though the application for the cannabis dispensaries don't specifically call these out, I would still recommend putting it in there because these are easy things to do, things that you should be doing anyway, because it'll save you money and hopefully get you closer to that magical 5 points that you're gonna get. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.